Hi there. Welcome to the Small Business Coffee Break, the series where we take a few minutes to work on your business, not just in it. Today we're talking with Diane Snider of RevLocal about how important is it for your business to be found locally. Diane has been helping small businesses get found online since 2020. So grab a cup of coffee and let's get into it. How important is it to be found locally? How important is it to be able to be found locally through search?
So it actually depends on, and that's a really great question. So it's important to be found if your industry needs you to be found locally. So if you're a HVAC tech, then you don't need to be found in California if your business is in Florida. If you're a clothing brand, then you want that nationwide or maybe even worldwide visibility. So it's really dependent upon what industry you're in and who your audience is. But let's go back to Mr. HVAC or Mrs. HVAC. So they need to be found locally. But again, if they're located in Miami and they don't necessarily need to reach to Palm Beach or further north or further south because that's not their ideal client. So having that local presence is going to be important for them to be found locally. But what that means is that if I'm here local, I'm in their city, and I type in HVAC near me, air conditioning repair, HVAC tech, whatever it is that I'm searching for, they need to come up in that local search, whether it's in what they call that local 3-pack or on that first page of Google or Yahoo, Bing, etc. If you're not on that first page of Google, people are not finding you. So it's really important to be found on that first page of Google so that you become an option. And then the next layer is getting people to choose you above your competition. And that's where reviews come in.
And it's so funny because, you mentioned Google as the search, but, for instance, I'm like one of the few human beings on the planet that it never occurs to me to type in X near me. Like those two words that I hear all the time.
Yes.
When I hear that, apparently it's very, very prevalent. I'm just not one of those people. And so I'm always just look for pizza shop and assume that Google's going to show me something nearby.
And Google will.
And it will, right?
Yes.
And so understanding what that means for the groups of people that you're trying to find. If you're a pizza shop that happens to be near a very large resort, how much of your social media is geared towards that resort so that when people are there, are they searching?
Absolutely.
I mean, it can get really hyper focused.
Yes.
And it reminds me of another place that I search for all the time, which is maps. In fact, I would argue that I search more for businesses on maps, either Apple or Google, than I do on the search engine itself. Because I'm generally looking for something near me.
Right.
I want to see what their reviews are. Right. Well, but I assume it's going to do that. It knows where I'm at.
Yes.
I just always think it's funny when someone says it because I'm like, people must do that a lot.
Yes.
Or I want to be able to see some reviews or pricing or hours or whatever piece of information. I always get super surprised when I get my Google Business monthly review and it tells me how many people looked me up through Google Business.
Yes.
And how many people called me. People were looking for my address, so on. How much was organic, how much was direct. Right. Those numbers always just blow my mind because I'm sure that I have, based on that, 400 or 500 customers that don't know my phone number.
Right.
They Google it every single time they want to call me.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And using those analytics is really important. Most people set their Google Business profile into play and step away. And there's so many aspects of having that Google Business profile, so many avenues that you can really work on and utilize to build your local presence, and most people don't. And so when you do and you're working those analytics to see what's working and what's not, it can make a huge difference in the amount of exposure that you have. And I always like to say that, and I'm not with Google, but I will say that with Google in particular, you almost want to court Google. Like you almost want to like date Google, because the happier you make Google, the more Google is going to present you as a viable option.
And I think that's true of Facebook.
Yes.
You know, the more
Yes.
you more you feed Facebook's need to keep
Yes.
people on the platform, Facebook seems to want to reward you for that.
Yes.
Instagram, which is Facebook Lite, you know, kind of does something similar. I mean, I'm a big fan of Twitter, but only because I love the fact that everyone's just, you know, they've only got 240 characters.
Right.
That's it. And I actually wish they would go back to 120, because I thought it was, you had to be more creative.
Yes, very diligent.
Yeah, only tell me what I want to know and nothing else. Keep your opinions to yourself, please. If you have any questions you'd like to ask Diane, ask them in the comments, or her contact information is in the description. If you have any questions you'd like me to ask Diane, or any other professional in their field, my contact information is also in the description, and I'm always available via DM. See you next week for another cup of coffee and more questions answered.